Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a mystery movie from France, French language English subs, released in the year 2004, directed by Cedric Kahn, and this film is called Red Lights. So Red Lights is about a married couple. They're travelling on a highway to pick up their children from a summer camp, but everyone else is leaving as well. They're leaving the city because it's summer holidays, and so there's a traffic jam that is a result of all the people using the road, and the traffic jam brings a lot of animosity between the couple. So the husband and wife, it appears obvious that things aren't so rosy, and the husband is relying on alcohol a lot. So he stops over by the side of the road to go to a shop, he buys some alcohol, and he's doing this more and more, up into a point where the wife says that if he does it one more time, she's going to pick up the kids herself by catching a train. So he doesn't take this threat seriously. He goes into another shop. When he comes back, she's left a note saying that she's gone, but the husband realises that she never made it to the train, and so something's happened to her, and so his paranoia is kicking into overdrive. But unfortunately, because he's relying on alcohol so much, that's really clouding his judgment as to what's fantasy and what's reality. And there's a side element that I'm not going to give away that comes into the mix that really puts the cat amongst the pigeons and intensifies this man's discomfort. So whether or not he can find his wife is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Red Lights. I watched this movie a very, very long time ago, and for whatever reasons I didn't review it. And so what I do remember, I don't remember a whole lot, but what I do remember is that this is the film that really got me into French noir. And since then I've been exposed to the works of Dominique Moll, who's a fantastic French director, and a whole host of other French directors who specialise in very similar styles of movies. And so when I watched this again recently, I thought I definitely have to review it, because although it's not a brilliant film, there is a strong level of absorbing quality to this movie that not a lot of filmmakers can do. And so if you are a fan of French noir, if you are a fan of film itself and you want to study a film that on the outside looks very monotonous but on the inside there's a strange, captivating quality to it, then Red Lights is definitely for you. I thought this is a very absorbing movie, but it's made out of absolute nothing. It's basically, the majority of this film takes place on a highway, and this couple that are arguing, and the reliance of alcohol on this husband, I thought there were so many questions that begged answering that it maintains that level of interest. It sustains the interest to a point where I thought as though it was totally absorbing. It was spellbinding. Now, a reviewer actually said this is spellbinding, and I can actually agree with that, is that it has that captivating quality and you're not quite sure why. You can't put your finger on why you feel so uncomfortable, but it's through the masterful film work of Cedric Kahn. And so whether it's the cinematography that is very dreamlike, whether it's the very subtle soundtrack, everything is hitting you very subtly, but it's slowly creeping up on you. And so the questions that beg answering, there's themes of alcoholism that I thought were very interesting. Remind me of a film called Wake in Fright, which is a classic Australian movie where the alcohol played a very terrifying character, and this is the same sort of thing. Why is this man relying on alcohol? And none of these questions are really answered to a point where you can actually put your finger on it. There's a lot of interpretation, and that interpretation, as I said, creates that discomfort because we want control. In order to get control, you really have to understand something, and Cedric Kahn realises this, and he's playing it very deliberately and not giving you enough information to feel as though you have that total control over proceedings. And so that was very good, and this is why the French do noir better than anybody else. So the acting was superb. It had an emphasis on the main couple, and they're bickering between each other. I thought, all right, well, this is something that happens in everyday life. You know, sometimes we don't get along with each other. But as I said, the questions that beg answering are never answered to a point where the level of grey to the film is black and white. And so because it's not black and white, this is why the mystery and the sustained interest comes through something that is so monotonous. And so if you're not an avid film fan, you're probably going to find this very boring. And that's ultimately my criticism of the movie, is that to the average viewer, you're not really going to get something out of this. And there's not enough traditional thriller cinematic quality to make this film appeal to everybody out there. But as I said, if you're willing to put the time and effort into a film that I thought was expertly made in a very subtle way, then Red Lights is definitely one that's going to appeal to you. There is a side story that comes into the mix that I thought really starts to evolve everything that's going on and actually starts to kick into a thriller. But it's very Alfred Hitchcock. It's not so much about what's going on at that particular moment, it's about the anticipation. Is this man going to find his wife? Are the people that have been introduced to him while he's on this journey, are they there to help him or are they against him? And so all these questions create that grey matter that I believe makes Red Lights so interesting within a concept that is so boring. And so that's ultimately my criticism at the same time, is that there's not enough thematic quality for everybody to love the film. But if you're like me and you love French film and you love French noir in particular, then Red Lights is definitely one that I would say go out there and see. It's not a brilliant film. It's very simplistic, it's very basic, but underneath, it's not as basic as the visuals and the overall story would lead you to believe. So it's a very absorbing film. It's one that I would recommend. Not brilliant, but definitely worth the experience. I'm going to give Red Lights 3.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies and I'll see you later.